Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're putting on our detective hats and digging into a fascinating real estate mystery right in the heart of California. We're going to look closely at the Fresno County real estate market for May and June of 2026. Now, if you've been following housing trends lately, you already know it's a bit of a roller coaster out there. But what's happening in Fresno right now is especially captivating. There is a massive, and I mean massive, gap forming between what sellers expect to get for their homes and the reality of what buyers are actually willing to pay. We're going to unpack exactly what that means. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, a quick welcome to Fresno County. Then we'll define the current seller's market, explore the gap between expectations and reality, compare Fresno to the rest of California, and finally, look ahead to summer.
Welcome to Fresno County.
Just to ground ourselves in the region we're analyzing today, Fresno County is massive. It stretches all the way from the agricultural heart of the San Joaquin Valley right up into the stunning elevations of the Sierra National Forest. It's a vast, dynamic, and incredibly diverse area. And just a quick note, the comprehensive data we're unpacking today comes to us courtesy of local realtor Renee Ortiz, reflecting where the market officially stood in May of 2026. Moving on to part 2. Defining the seller's market. Well, to understand what's happening, it really all comes down to one absolutely critical clue: 2.65. This specific number is literally the foundation of why sellers currently hold so much power in Fresno County. So, what does 2.65 actually mean? We're talking about the months of inventory. By definition, this is exactly how many months it would take to sell every single available home currently on the market at the current pace of pending sales. And that's assuming absolutely zero new homes are listed. To put that 2.65 figure into perspective, if every homeowner in Fresno County just stopped listing their houses today, the entire market would be completely sold out in just over 2.5 months. That is incredibly tight inventory. Just for some context, a normal, balanced market usually sits closer to 5 or 6 months. And the historical data brilliantly illustrates exactly how we got to that tight squeeze. The month's supply of inventory dipped down to 2.65 in May 2026. What's wild about this is that it actually represents a 9.6% drop just from last month. Even more staggering, it's a 12.3% drop from last year. So inventory isn't just low, it's actively shrinking, which just continues to squeeze buyers and heavily favors sellers. All right, part 3. Expectations versus reality. Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer size of the gap we're seeing. On one side, we have a median list price of $469,000. But on the other side, a median sold price of $430,000. That is a massive $39,000 difference between hopeful asking prices and the actual finalized closed deals. Let's look a little closer at where these numbers are coming from. When we consider the active listings, the median list price has climbed all the way up to $469,000. Active inventory list prices just keep pushing upward, up 2.2% month over month in May alone. This showcases incredibly high and, frankly, possibly overconfident seller expectations. They see the low inventory, they know for a fact they have the advantage, and they're absolutely shooting for the moon with their asking prices. But contrast that with the actual sold properties. The median sold price is anchoring significantly lower, steadying out at $430,000. Now sure, it did tick up a tiny 0.88% from the previous month, but it is nowhere near that $469,000 mark. This reveals the true limits of the buyer's wallet right now. Buyers are analyzing those sky-high list prices and saying, look, we just can't go that high, no matter how low the inventory is. So how does this dynamic play out on the ground? Let's summarize the market pacing here. Homes are actually still moving relatively fast. The median days on market is just 27 days, so houses aren't just sitting around forever. However, think about the sold to list price percentage. It's sitting right at 99%. That means buyers are successfully negotiating that final 1% off the asking price at the closing table. They have hard limits, they're sticking to them, and they're forcing sellers to come down slightly to actually make the deal happen. Which brings us to part 4, the California comparison. Let's zoom out and see how this builds because it's fantastic context to see how Fresno compares broadly. While Fresno completely follows the general upward trend of both the state and the entire country, it remains a distinctly more affordable, localized market. It sits well below those staggering California state averages, making it a highly attractive area for buyers who might be feeling totally priced out of the coastal cities. Let's break down the specific growth percentages for Fresno.
Heading into June 2026, the median estimated value for a property here is calculated at $428,620. Now, that is a very tiny 0.2% change from last month, but look at the 12-month change, a solid plus 2.2%. So, despite being a much more affordable option in California, properties in Fresno are still seeing a very healthy, steady year-over-year climb in estimated value. It's a stable, growing market that protects investments.
Finally, part 5, looking ahead to summer.
So, the crucial point here heading into June is that the estimated median property value sits at $428,620. Think about that for a second. We just talked about how the actual median sold price in May was $430,000. So this $428,620 estimate represents a very slight softening, a bit of a leveling off as we head into the summer months. The runaway price growth we've been seeing might just be taking a quick breather. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. With values steadying near $428,000 and a massive $39,000 gap between what sellers expect to get and what buyers are actually willing to pay, we really have to ask, is the seller's tight grip on the market finally starting to loosen? I mean, if inventory stays at a microscopic 2.65 months, sellers definitely keep an edge. But if buyers flat out refuse to meet those astronomical list prices, well, something's got to give. It's a fascinating tension, and it's exactly what we'll be watching as the rest of 2026 unfolds.